Octopus Energy offers a fantastic range of smart tariffs here in the UK, but with so many to choose from, how do you know which one's actually best for your setup? Whether you've got solar panels, a home battery, an EV or even a heat pump, being on the right tariff can make a real difference, potentially cutting your payback time by a year or more. In this video, I'll run through all the key tariffs available today so that you can find out the best one for you. Hi there, I'm Gary and welcome back to my channel, Gary Does Solar. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of Octopus Energy. They're leading the market here in the UK and in other countries around the world with their innovative products and tariffs. Now, this video is a closer look into the smart tariffs being offered here in the UK. And even if you're living elsewhere, it's still worth watching so that you can compare the smart tariffs that you're being offered where you are. And if you're not being offered those kinds of tariffs, then feel free to send your energy provider a link to this video and politely ask them what their plans are. There's nothing like a bit of consumer pressure to drive action. Okay, let's get started. If I go to this page on the Octopus Energy website and type in my postcode, I'm presented with a list of all the tariffs available to me. I'll filter it down to domestic tariffs only. The most basic domestic tariff is this one called Flexible Octopus. The pricing is in two parts. The unit rate, which for my location is currently 26.99 pence per kilowatt hour, and the standing or fixed charge, which is a daily amount I have to pay regardless of how much or how little electricity I use in that day. For my location, that rate is currently 52.73 pence. Now, I'm saying currently because, like anything in life, things change. And if you happen to be watching this video many months from now, I'm pretty sure that all the rates I'll be quoting in the video will have changed. So please be mindful of that before making any decisions about particular tariffs. Okay, so for the Flexible Octopus tariff, I'm paying the same rate for all the electricity I consume, no matter what time of day I consume it. And just to labour that point, I could draw it out as a chart like so. A flat line showing that the 26.99 pence rate doesn't change across any 24-hour period. I'm going to colour that line red to indicate that it's an import rate, meaning we're drawing electricity from the grid into our home. I'll also include the 52.73 pence standing or fixed daily charge, as this has to be paid regardless. If you're fortunate enough to have a solar installation on your home, then anytime you're generating electricity from your solar panels, that's electricity you're not having to import from the grid, saving you 26.99 pence per kilowatt hour. It's even better though, if your solar system happens to be generating more power than your home can consume, that excess can be exported back to the grid. And in the UK at least, energy providers will pay you for that export. We can draw another line onto this chart, this time in green, to represent the export rate. Octopus Energy offers two types of export tariff for Flexible Octopus. The one that you see here is called Outgoing Octopus. And we'll talk about a more advanced version of that called Agile Outgoing Octopus later in the video. Outgoing Octopus currently pays 15 pence per kilowatt hour, no matter when that export happens, which I think is pretty decent, more than 50% of the import rate. Bear in mind though that whilst Flexible Octopus doesn't require you to have a smart meter installed, being on any of their export tariffs will. Now, some people don't like the idea of having a smart meter installed in their home, often due to worries about privacy, potential surveillance, or some kind of hidden agenda from the energy providers. In reality though, there's little cause for concern. Smart meters automate the process of reporting your actual energy usage to your supplier, and that means no more manual meter readings or estimated bills. Even better, smart meters open up real opportunities for you to save money on your energy bills, or even earn money back, all while reducing your carbon footprint and supporting a more efficient and greener grid. This is only possible because of the detailed near real-time data that your smart meter provides, and it's that data that powers innovative smart tariffs, often called time of use or dynamic tariffs, which can charge lower rates during off-peak times or when renewable energy is abundant, essentially rewarding you for shifting your energy usage to cheaper, cleaner times. The best way to explain all this is to show you it in action with some of Octopus Energy's smart tariffs, which we'll do now. The first smart tariff we're going to look at is one called Octopus Flux. It's a smart tariff designed for those with a solar and battery installation. Unlike Flexible Octopus that we looked at earlier, which has the same import rate no matter when you use electricity, Octopus Flux has different rates at different times. And you can find out what those rates are for your location by typing in your postcode. Here are the current rates for my location, and we can show these visually on our chart. Here is the flexible Octopus import rate again at 26.99 pence per kilowatt hour and 52.73 pence for the daily standing charge. The standard import rate of Octopus Flux, called the day rate, is about a penny higher at 27.77 pence, and the standing charge is virtually the same. What's different is there is now a cheaper import rate between 2 AM and 5 AM overnight. Any electricity drawn from the grid during that time is only 16.66 pence, just over half the day rate. The reason for this is that the wholesale price of electricity is generally cheaper overnight when there is less demand, and Octopus Energy is happy to pass on that saving to you. What this means is that you can program your home battery to charge up with this cheaper energy, and if the capacity of your battery is large enough, use that stored energy to run your home for the remainder of the day, right up to the next off-peak period. This kind of charging strategy is particularly useful during the winter when there is little solar generation to power your home otherwise. There is a slight complication though. You'll see that later in the day, specifically between 4 PM and 7 PM, the import rate increases to 38.88 pence, around 40% higher than the day rate. The reason for this is that national demand is generally higher then, and it invariably means that fossil fuels are being burned, specifically natural gas in the UK, to meet that demand. Ideally, you don't want to be pulling electricity from the grid at all during this period, and so making sure there is sufficient stored energy in your home battery to avoid that is prudent. That will come about from charging your battery during the off-peak flux period, and also any solar generation if it's a sunny day. Now, Octopus Flux also comes with its own unique export rates too. The standard day export rate is 9.79 pence, compared with the 15 pence flat rate of outgoing Octopus that we saw earlier. During the off-peak flux period, that export rate drops to 4.39 pence, so you really want to avoid exporting energy at that time, which is fine as you're likely charging from your home battery then. But here's where things get interesting. Between 4 PM and 7 PM, the export rate rises to 27.81 pence, pretty much the same price as the standard day import rate. So it's a great time to export energy from your home battery to the grid. And during the summer, you may also still be generating energy from your solar panels, which can also be exported then. This is especially true if you have a west array, given the way the sun tracks across the sky during the day. So the general idea with Octopus Flux is that you make the most of your solar and battery setup by charging the battery with cheaper energy overnight, storing any excess solar generation during the day, and then using all of that stored energy to power your home or exporting it back to the grid when export rates are highest. This approach allows you to save and even earn money and support a more balanced and renewable grid at the same time. If you'd like to dig deeper into Octopus Flux and how this smart tariff could work for you, check out this video I made. The link is in the description. Now, there is a sister tariff to Octopus Flux, and it's called Intelligent Octopus Flux. Whereas Octopus Flux is all about you setting up your solar and battery system yourself to take advantage of the attractive import and export rates, Intelligent Octopus Flux does all of that hard work for you, managing your system on your behalf. You'll need to have a compatible system though, and here are the currently supported brands. See if yours is on there. Okay, let's take a deeper look into this tariff then to see how it could work for you. Here are the current import and export rates for Intelligent Octopus Flux in my location. And a good way to understand these rates is to see how they differ from Octopus Flux. And we can do this by looking at our chart again. The standing or fixed daily charge is the same, but there is no off-peak period anymore. And the day import rate reduces to 22.85 pence. There's still a peak rate though, but it reduces down to 30.46 pence. Now, where things get really interesting is with the export rate. With Intelligent Octopus Flux, it's exactly the same as the import rate, no matter what time of day. So you pay the same price per kilowatt hour for electricity you draw from the grid as you get paid for exporting to it. So what does this all mean in practice then? Well, it means that your solar and battery installation now comprises two separate batteries. Work with me on this. The first is your home battery that you purchased and installed. Octopus typically charges that battery using the cheapest and greenest energy available, often overnight or from your solar, and that battery is typically full around 4 p.m. Then, during the 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. peak window, your home battery exports all that stored energy back to the grid at the higher rate. This helps reduce reliance on fossil fuels to meet demand while earning you money at the same time. Now, I say typically because Octopus may also charge or discharge your battery at other times to provide specific grid balancing services. Your battery essentially joins thousands of others in a virtual power plant, and that all helps stabilize the grid as required. So what's this other battery then? Well, because the import and export rates are identical, you can export and then import the same amount of energy and it will cost you nothing. The grid essentially acts like a second battery. But the great thing about this grid battery is that it has infinite capacity. And when you have an infinitely sized battery as part of your system, you can literally store all the excess generation accrued over the summer, which could be thousands of kilowatt hours, then get it all back at no cost in the winter when there is little solar generation. I know it takes a little while to get your head around this, but that's genuinely how it works, and it's one of the cleverest parts of this tariff. It means if you believe your annual solar generation will be appreciably larger than your annual usage, this tariff could be perfect for you. I will warn you though, with Intelligent Octopus Flux, if you spend too much time trying to work out why your home battery charges at this time and discharges at that time, and why you're pulling energy from the grid, even though your battery could already supply that, you'll end up getting very frustrated. With this tariff, you just have to let Intelligent Octopus Flux do its thing. If you'd like to know more about Intelligent Octopus Flux, here are a couple of videos I made that look into the tariff in much more detail. The link is in the description. So the tariffs we've covered so far are great if you have solar and battery, but what if you have a heat pump instead, or even all three? Well, you won't be surprised to hear that Octopus has a dedicated tariff for you, and it's called Cosy Octopus. Here are the Octopus rates for my location. And again, as before, the best way to understand what this tariff is trying to achieve is to show you these rates on our chart. If we start with Flexible Octopus again, the Cosy Octopus standing charge is roughly the same, but the day import rate is currently about 2 pence higher. Then, instead of just one cheaper off-peak period like Octopus Flux, there are actually 3 off-peak periods, one between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m, another between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m, and a third between 10 p.m. and midnight. During these times, the import rate is roughly halved. Finally, there is a single peak period between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m, where the import rate increases to 43.24 pence. So it's quite an interesting rate profile then. You can also add an export tariff to this if you want. Here I've added outgoing Octopus that we saw earlier, which currently pays 15 pence for every kilowatt hour you export. So why is Cosy Octopus designed this way then? Well, if you have a heat pump, you'll know they use a fair amount of electricity to run, especially on very cold days. And buying electricity at the standard rate means your savings compared to other home heating methods like natural gas or oil might not be as strong as they could be. But with Cosy Octopus giving you 8 hours of cheaper electricity at strategic times across the day, you can shift most of the heat pump tasks like space heating, hot water boosts, or even preheating the house into those off-peak slots, which should deliver noticeably lower running costs. And if you also have solar, on cold but sunny days, this helps run your heat pump between those off-peak slots. And if you have a home battery too, even a small one, things get even better. You can charge your battery during those off-peak periods and then use that cheaper stored energy to power your heat pump between those off-peak periods. I hope that you can see already that Octopus Energy is well ahead of the game here in creating really innovative smart tariffs for your own particular situations. I think they're by far the best provider in the UK, but don't take my word for it. Octopus Energy has just been named Which Recommended Supplier for the 9th year in a row. I mean, you have to be providing consistently great service day in, day out to achieve that kind of recognition. Feel free to use my referral code here to switch to Octopus. It's easy to do and the process is virtually automatic. Not only that, but you'll get £50 credited to your account, and I'll get the same, which helps support my channel. Thank you. Now I'm about to show you 2 additional smart tariffs from Octopus Energy, and I have to say, if you can meet the eligibility criteria for those, for most people they provide the best financial value. The first of these tariffs is called Octopus Go, and to be on it you have to have an electric vehicle. Here are the rates for my location, and as before, we'll chart all those in order to give you a better understanding. The standard day rate is slightly higher than for Flexible Octopus that I showed you at the start of the video. But you can see there are 5 hours of very cheap rate electricity between 12:30 AM and 5:30 AM overnight. Only 8.5 pence per kilowatt hour. That's an incredible reduction on the daily rate, even better than you can get with Cosy Octopus or Octopus Flux. The idea of this tariff is very straightforward. You can set your EV to charge during that off-peak period, which is an incredible saving. And if you have a home battery, it's even better, as you can also charge that at the same time. Assuming battery round-trip losses of 10%, that still means if your battery capacity is large enough to cover your daily usage, you can run your entire home at under 9.5 pence per kilowatt hour. That's incredible value. And like other tariffs, you can also pair it with outgoing Octopus to get paid 15 pence for any energy you export. But look, the 15 pence export rate is 6.5 pence higher than the off-peak import rate. And this opens up the possibility of energy arbitrage. You're able to buy electricity at 8.5 pence and then sell it at 15 pence, making a small profit. The way I would do it is always charge my home battery overnight, every night, even if the next day is going to be sunny. Yes, that generation would have filled my battery anyway, but if my battery's already full by the time the sun comes up, I'll be exporting immediately. This kind of strategy is invaluable for saving money on your energy bills, and you can find out more about that in this video here. The link is in the description. So you might think that Octopus Go is as good as it gets, but no, Octopus Energy has gone one better with Intelligent Octopus Go. Here are the rates I can get from my location with Intelligent Octopus Go. And let's see how those rates compare with Octopus Go. Both the daily standing or fixed charge and the day import rate are slightly less, which is good, but look how low the off-peak import rate is, down from 8.5 pence to only 7 pence. Amazing. But remember, before you all rush out and sign up for this tariff, it's worth remembering that you need to have either a compatible EV or a compatible EV charger. Thankfully, Octopus has an ever-growing list of both that you can access. You also get an extra hour of off-peak charging, 6 hours instead of 5. And even better than that, if your EV requires more than 6 hours charging on a particular day, let's say you're planning a long journey, Octopus Energy will grant you as many additional charging slots as the EV needs. Check the latest terms and conditions though, as you may be charged at the normal day import rate for any hours beyond the first 6. And just like with Octopus Go, you can pair it with the outgoing Octopus export tariff, and you'll find the arbitrage is even better. Buy at 7 pence, sell at 15 pence. Now there's no guarantee that these rates will be around forever, so as with anything in life, take part while you're able. To find out more about Octopus Go and Intelligent Octopus Go, check out my video here, which goes into detail on both tariffs. Again, the link is in the description. Now there's one final tariff I'd like to cover in this video, and it's very different to all the other tariffs as you're about to see. The tariff is called Agile Octopus, and the chart looks like this. Actually, it looks more like this, or maybe even this. And this is the point. The chart varies every single day depending on the wholesale cost of electricity. More accurately, the import rate varies every 30 minutes. I would say this tariff is not for the faint-hearted. But if you're always on the lookout for great deals, I've seen the import rate go down to 0 or even negative. What does it mean if the import rate goes negative? Well, it means Octopus Energy will pay you for using electricity instead. I mean, how crazy is that? And as with some of the other tariffs, you can pair Agile Octopus with outgoing Octopus. But there is another export tariff available called Agile Outgoing Octopus. And yes, you guessed it, the export rate varies every 30 minutes, just like the import rate. I won't blow your mind too much here, but if you want to know more about the Agile tariffs, here is a video I made which gets into the detail. And I'll also include a link into the description of this table where you can see which tariffs can be paired with the various export tariffs available. Now I offer a solar installer directory in the UK which lists installers that I would trust with my own money. One of the installers in that directory is Green Team 1. And they like to spend time with the customer to work out which tariff would work best for them, based on things like usage and installed equipment. I wanted to find out a bit more about this, so I went to see them. Well, Rob and Craig, thanks very much for taking time out to meet with me today. you're in my directory and I get feedback from all the customers that use the directory. And the feedback that I'm getting about your business is that you're actually taking time to sit down with the customer and take them through all the different tariff options so that they can make the best choice with the situation that they're in and the equipment they've got. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that. But before I do, maybe for my viewers, Rob, perhaps you could just say a little bit about your business, Green Team One.
Yeah, sure. We're 4 years in now, but the core of the team are very much more experienced than that.
Okay.
And I've been working with them for 10 or 12 years now. And we're all driven by a love of the industry and a passion to be part of the solution to a problem that we all know exists, the global problem of energy supply. And that's what drives us. And we were drawn together into Green Team One because we wanted to provide a premium service in an industry which was sadly lacking in that respect.
Yeah.
And what we were really clear that as a group we wanted to achieve was precise engineering in every stage of the process, from the system design to the electrical install and the roof work. And to add on to that, we wanted to excel in customer service and support. And in a nutshell, that's our mission statement.
Okay, that's great. Can I ask you then, Rob, which areas do you serve as a business?
Well, based here in South Gloucestershire, we like to travel roughly an hour from here, and we perceive ourselves to be a local installer for that area. Yeah. We're governed by the RECC, who define a local install as an hour and a half from base. Yeah. So we're happy to go out as far as that. So as north as far as Birmingham, most of South Wales, down to Somerset and Devon, and up to Wiltshire, Oxfordshire, and beyond.
Great stuff. And do you run your own teams or do you subcontract? How does that normally work?
That's a fine question, and one that we debated quite a lot in the early stages. But as part of our commitment to what we perceive to be best service, we only do in-house. All teams are in-house. We don't do any subcontracting.
Yeah. Okay. So Rob, as I said before, I'm getting a lot of feedback from your customers telling me that you're actually taking time as a business to sit down with them, go through all the various tariffs that are available from the different energy suppliers, and then work out what would be a great tariff for them to be on. I think it's great that you do that, but how do you get the time? I can imagine a lot of installers would be, once everything's up and running, they want to get away and get on to the next job. So why do you do this?
Well, why we do it and how we find the time are different questions, obviously. But I mean, how we find the time is we make the time.
Yeah.
And we feel like we feel it's part of our responsibility in terms of delivering best advice. It's all part of our holistic view as to what we perceive to be best advice. We'll take the time and cost to do that.
I mean, that's really refreshing to hear, because there are a lot, there's over, I think, 6,000 installers in the UK at the moment, and quite a large percentage of that only started up in the last year. And I worry that many of those companies are really just want to do box shifting. And so it's really great to see installers taking the time, looking at the whole spectrum of the service, from the sales right through to the support. But in there, you're taking that time out to really sit down with them and how they can use their system. Do you actually show them how it works? There's some apps involved for the equipment. Do you spend some time with the customer on that as well?
Yes, always. So it would be easy, wouldn't it, for the engineer that fits the kit at the end of the install to download the manufacturer's app onto the customer's phone. Yeah. And then show them around that quickly and then wave goodbye. Yeah. And that's the perception of many installers as their responsibility over. Yeah. Because the customer's got the app and then they can navigate it and do as they please with it from there. But in our opinion, that's not sufficient. And so we take time to do it thoroughly and properly and make sure that they understand it properly and they're fully trained on it.
Brilliant. That's good. So Craig, maybe you could just tell us, how does that actually work? So take a scenario with a customer. You've just finished the install. How do you actually work it through with the customer?
Yeah, so once the customer's had their hardware for a week or so and gotten to know it a little bit, come up with any questions that they've got.
Yeah.
Then we do a handover, sometimes face-to-face, sometimes over video call.
All right. So already that's really good, because I remember my installation, the install was done, the app was downloaded just like you said, Rob, and then they disappeared and that was it. But here you're saying the customer gets a week or so with the equipment and then you come back. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
Because you know what it's like. You don't necessarily have all your questions straight away. You want to get to know the software and the hardware. And then you end up with questions. So the first thing that we want to know is what their experience of the install was. Were there any issues? And if there were they resolved?
Yeah.
So we make sure that they're happy with what's happened so far. We show them the monitoring portal and the app. We then go through the different tariffs that are available, and we use a piece of software to help us find the optimum tariff for their setup.
Well, that's news to my ears, because I like doing software like that. That's great that you're using that for yourselves. Good.
Yeah, exactly. And then the most important part is getting the hardware that they've got to integrate with the tariff, and showing them how to do that, and so that we set it up with them in the first place and they know how to make adjustments if they want to.
Okay.
We find that customers really appreciate this. I mean, the technology is fantastic, but it's all well and good having great technology, but if it's not set up right, then you're not going to get the best out of it.
And Craig, when you're sitting down with a customer and you're going through different tariffs, is it just Octopus tariffs that you go through? Because they do quite a lot, but of course they're not the only game in town. There are other energy providers and they have some good tariffs.
I mean, Octopus have a wide range of tariffs, which are fantastic. But for example, if you just look at EV tariffs, Good Energy and Eon Next, they've got some real competitors out there. It's a similar story with heat pump tariffs as well. There's lots of different nuances in the differences between the tariffs from different providers. I would say Octopus is probably still the energy provider that we recommend most often, but it's not a foregone conclusion, and we're certainly not wedded to them.
Well, Rob, maybe I could ask you one last question then. I really like what Green Team 1 is doing, and of course you're in my directory for that very reason. But let's look to the future now. It's 2026, brand new year. Maybe you could tell me, Rob, a little bit about what's Green Team 1 going to be up to this year?
Well, we're all very excited. We've had a super 2025, and sales are progressing very nicely.
Great.
The company is expanding. We've got a virtual power plant in place now, which is all very exciting.
Okay.
We're also expanding our heat pump operation. We started doing that about 12 months ago. And now we've got a new, well-established in-house team, and we shall also be rolling out a new product very shortly. Okay,
that sounds quite exciting. Can you say anything about that at the moment?
I could, but in this case, I'll leave it as it is and make a full announcement in due course.
All right, brilliant. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about that then. Well, listen, guys, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's quite a lot to take in, yeah? But it's so important to make sure you're on the right tariff for your situation. I always say that a solar and battery installation is only half the equation. The other half is being on the right tariff. Get that right and it'll bring your payback time down. Before I go then, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters who make all these videos possible. And if you'd like to support me in this way, it's very easy to do. Just sign up using the link that you see here. You'll also get access to a whole range of modelling tools to help you figure out how to get the very best from your solar and battery system. I'll see you soon.